Sir, the ending of penal colony is quite gruesome. I mean, the body of the lieutenant or the commanding officer is literally abused and mutated or whatever. I mean, he ends up being the victim of that torture machine. That's physical. I mean, that's physical human body for you. It's going through all kind of tortures.
Yeah.
And if that is how Kafka perceives the human beings, actual human beings, the way in which he looks at the animals are generally considered as inferior creatures. Yeah, exactly. In many of the Kafka's major or minor work, we find animals that happen to be the heroes or protagonists, and the other constant themes of Kafka's work are transformation, mutation, metamorphosis. Now, why do you think body is so important for Kafka, and why do you think he emphasizes on such aspects that have a special focus on body? In Kafka's work, most of the animals, be it what George Samsa mutates into in Metamorphosis, or the figure of the dog protagonist from the story Investigation of the Dog, all of them are trying to strive towards higher a form of intelligence or awareness. Awareness. Can we?
Yes. This question of animals in Kafka is very interesting. For Metamorphosis, Kafka insisted that you should not illustrate that insect. Okay. So we cannot look at the insect in the Metamorphosis as from biological point of view, as if you can find out that this is the insect, whether it's a cockroach or something else. Now, you mentioned Investigations of a Dog. This is interesting from another point of view. Kafka was influenced by different kinds of philosophers, poets, etc. But we should not ignore the influence of scientists like Darwin. Kafka even attended a lecture by Einstein. Now, science is something wonderful. Science explains the mysteries of life. But for an artist, it can be kind of, that scientific method can be kind of limited. Recently, I heard there was a video in which a scientist, Richard Dawkins, he talks about how the scientists can really see the beauty inside the flower also. Scientists analyze it, but they also see the beauty. Beauty is not just the domain of the artists. But from the artist's point of view, there are certain things in life which remain mystery. You can't explain them. That's why Kafka writes stories, to show that incomprehensible is incomprehensible. In the Investigation of a Dog, what happens is this dog, as you said, the dog is higher than a dog. It reasons. Human being was also a reasoning individual. That's what people started to believe at that point of time because of enlightenment and all those things. The dog reasons. It tries to find out things through scientific method. There are so many references to the scientific method there. Theorizing, trying to find proof, going to alternative theories, etc. Trial and error, etc. But you cannot understand life like this. That's what Kafka probably is trying to say. You cannot understand life by this positivist, empiricist method. There are a lot of things in life which cannot be understood by a scientific method. Kafka was, religious in a particular sense, not religious in the sense of being a Christian. He is religious in the sense that he acknowledges the mysteries of life. He is not trying to solve the mysteries of life. He acknowledges the mysteries of life and presents them. As I said, Kafka is religious. His works deal with the issue of the inadequacy of the mind to comprehend something that transcends it. You cannot approach his works through rationality. Kafka says of a story by Dostoevsky, a rational mind cannot comprehend it. So, we cannot approach Kafka's stories. If we approach it through rationality, we won't comprehend it also. So, there are many mysteries of life. But one of the biggest mysteries for Kafka is his own body.
His own body.
Yeah. So, one's own body is the most alien land for oneself. Now, Kafka transforms his protagonists into different. I mean, you have in the Metamorphosis, we have this bug,
Correct.
and then we have an ape, we have a dog, and there is the opposite also. We have a horse who has become a lawyer. No? So there is Josephine, which is a mouse. So there are different kinds of animals in Kafka.
Correct.
Now, what is this fascination? I mean, why does Kafka change protagonists into something else? Why should different kinds of body be explored? I think there is also, there is a personal aspect to it. Now, Kafka, as I told you, was a hypochondriac. He always felt about the inadequacies of his body. In his relationship with women, he always had this hesitation. From the modern point of view, we could say that he was priggish towards sex. He was also health conscious, paradoxically. He used to do these physical exercises, kinesthetics, and he also, there was that fashion then where some American had said you have to chew your food 35 or 40 times before you swallow it. Kafka used to do it.
So you would take such kind of suggestion pretty seriously.
Yeah, he would do that. He became a vegetarian, and there is a rumor that he died because he could not take food, he could not eat food. So very ironically, if that is true, then Kafka died by fasting, though it was not in his hand. Now, he was trying to change his body into a fitter one. There was pressure from his father also. Kafka says somewhere, to be a good son and a good citizen, one needs to be a soldier. But how can one transform one's body? So there was pressure from the father that the son should be a strong man. And then there were numerous notions about the Jewish body at that time. On the one hand, there were notions that Jews are physically weak. They are susceptible to certain kinds of diseases, that they are flat-footed, etc. On the other hand, there were stereotypes that Jews are not susceptible to certain kinds of diseases. There was the stereotype that Jews are not physically strong. On the other hand, within the Jewish community itself, people were saying that we have to change. People were saying that no, we have had this intellectual thing for a long time. Now we have to become strong. So there was this debate about transforming one's body. Add to it, at that time, there was also this debate about body and mind. There's one school of thought which thinks that the mind is more important than the body. Then there is another school of thought which thinks that the body is everything that we have. The mind is also part. It's a bodily organ. I don't know where Kafka would be in this debate. But, the bodies keep on changing. But the experience and the anxiety remains the same throughout the different bodies that Kafka explores.